Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
As always, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, a platform, this platform right here, celebrating industrial professionals all around the world because you are bold, brave, and you dare greatly. You innovate, you solve problems, you're making my life and the world a better place. There you go. That's why we celebrate you, pointing at you on the video. And we are here. OMG Q1 is the meeting. It's not a conference, so don't even go there. It's not a conference, it's a meeting. And it's a collection of incredible professionals focused on debating and solving problems. Apparently it gets pretty heated in some of these conversations. I don't play in that because, well, I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn either. So, Steven Huang. Did I get that?
Huang.
Yes.
See,
I said it wrong. All right, let's get cracking. He's in the hot seat. How you doing?
doing great. How are you?
Good. This is the first time we meet.
It's my only second DTC or OMG meeting, so I'm really excited to be here.
When was the first one?
In Austin last year.
You were there. I was there.
Yeah. Well, you were hobnobbing with the.
I'm quite a big deal out there.
Absolutely.
I'm not. I just these are the heroes. All right, so digital twin, big time. Give us a background, Steven, on who you are.
Great. So my name's Steven Huang. I work with ManTech International. As I said, it is my second digital twin consortium. I've been focused in the last 2 years on developing digital twins and virtual frameworks to support them. ManTech's customer base is primarily U.S. government, and I joined DTC in particular to better understand standards, protocols, other industry experts, so that we in general could provide better services and quality of life for our digital twins in the U.S. government.
It's like a tiger by the tail. I don't even know where you begin with all of that. And I'm looking at your business card right here, business card. You've got ManTech Elite. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it's pretty important. and you got a lot of verbiage on there, and definitely take us through. Okay, you're part of OMG, right? You are invested in the digital twin. And just take the listener through why that's important for ManTech.
Yeah, great question. So our U.S. government customers are very much in tune with the need to transform in respect to digital engineering and model-based system engineering. As part of that, they recognize the value that digital twins can have on operational systems, but they're looking at bringing that left of boom, so to speak. So they really want to start with the virtual twins and start developing the models to support that prior to executing of the physical thing.
So you're really focused in on that virtual twin.
Correct.
And running simulations and being able to take that and say, hey, what if this, and do this, see what the impact is before it goes into the physical.
Absolutely, yes.
That's major savings too. That's major value.
Right, and that's actually where the DoD or Department of Defense and DTC are somewhat in conflict, because the DoD definition of a digital twin includes what could be done in the physical world, whereas DTC focuses on the data coming from the physical world feeding into that digital twin. So it's a true mirror of a physical counterpart. But in some government acquisitions, right, those physical counterparts don't exist yet. And so we're bringing that a little bit left to make sure that we can capture the salient points of what the twin needs to do before it comes into existence.
So how do you those are both your customers?
Correct.
So you just sort of, do you advocate a certain approach?
Yes.
And what approach is that, and how do you get one of your customers to say, I see that?
Well, it's been a struggle because some government offices are a little bit more forward-leaning than others. But in general, we converse with them to better understand where they are, where their use cases and pain points are, so that we can start to tailor what processes and what particular applications of a digital twin could benefit them in the near term, so that we can establish that foundation of using solid data streams and models to consolidate around what a use case would be for their mission, And then once we have that, we can start to develop the framework and the hooks to expand it into other areas. So in particular, one of the big concerns with our U.S. government customers is cyber resiliency, right? So
huge.
We incorporate
Thank
those
you.
kinds of concepts right into the twin itself as we define it, so that we can evaluate, assess, and even harden the twin prior to the physical system also being hardened, so we can truly make sure we've done the best we can in the schedule and cost constraints we have with our customer to implement that in the real world.
How do you keep that virtual twin up to current?
So that's an excellent question.
Because when we start talking about cyber resiliency, things change. All I can see is it's a dynamic world out there.
Absolutely. So we rely on Internet of Things, threads and sources to make sure there's a data stream coming into our twin framework so that we can align it with its virtual counterpart. Now, that being said, we can now use our virtual twin as a standard, right, as the gold standard by which the operational world should be. So if there are any changes to my physical counterparts, then I know something has happened in the physical world that I didn't know about. And so I need to understand why that is, whether it be, an insider threat or whether it be malware, etc. So I can use my digital twin as an instance to make sure that everything there is trusted and valued, and I can evaluate that against standards that they have for hardening and resiliency.
How do you ensure that virtual world, that virtual twin, stays secure?
Yeah, so that is...
all hell could break loose, quite frankly.
That is a constant struggle and conversation we're having both internally as well as with our customers. So we've looked at role-based access control as well as attribute-based access control in order to who can gain access to the environment. But at the end of the day, we also need to incorporate things like zero trust and multi-factor authentication. And so we're looking at different means of doing that both from a data provider perspective of how we can provide data sources from IoT into the cloud services and yet still verify that they are trusted elements feeding that information. That's one. And two, the twin itself, we can control access to, whether it be through ZTA or multi-factor authentication, so that we know what changes can be done in that system. And then at the end of the day, we want to tie that back to the model that the virtual twin or digital twin architecture is based on. So the SysML, concept that we defined within the architecture as well as a system, all that can be governed from a model that then feeds all the other systems.
Can I approach this virtual twin, and does ManTech do this, approach a digital twin or virtual twin solution incrementally?
Absolutely.
So I can one, make the decision that yes, I need to go down this road, and then two, I just want to go down the road and I want to travel at 15 miles per hour as opposed to driving the whole bus, and can I do that?
Absolutely.
Do you advocate that?
Yeah, so one of the things that the DTC has actually come up with is a capabilities periodic table. And we use that to interact with our customers to kind of shape exactly what the expectations and deliverables are going to be for that first incarnation. And then we can grow upon that framework once we agree upon the initial investment and schedule and so forth, so that it can grow to meet their needs on a very measured and deliberate fashion.
Well, I because if anybody's having a pushback on it, right? If anybody's saying, I don't know, they've got to take this serious, because companies like you and yours moving forward, and many here at OMG, they're moving forward. It's going to happen, and the market is demanding it. So I find there are two components that I receive all the time. One is, where do I start? I don't know. I look at this business, I've got all my headaches over here, and where do I start? And then who do I trust? Because I don't want to invest all this incredible resources and find out that, oops, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I think organizations like yours and also OMG to be able to, as a great resource. And speaking of resources, if I'm interested in this, or at least begin educating myself, where do I start?
I would start with a lot of the publications and podcasts that actually DTC has already put forward. There's a lot of fundamental use cases and problems that they've already started to solve with digital twins, and it starts to whet the appetite in terms of what technology provides and supports today, as well as where you could grow that into the future.
I'm telling you, I'm all in. I don't know why I'm all in, but I'm all in. And then, so one last question before we sort of wrap it up. Where do you see it going? Where do you see the trends happening? I mean, it's fast. It's like yesterday's technology is not today's technology.
Right.
Literally 24 hours.
So I definitely see that zero trust and cyber resiliency is gaining a lot of ground. And so everything about engineering of complex systems has to incorporate that from a requirements perspective. And even if the funding doesn't necessarily support it, the need to do it and the right to do, the reason to do it right is already there. The second thing is obviously the availability and utility of digital twins in a mobile context. So how do I make use of things that are in motion, whether it be in outer space or whether it be down the highway or in the subway? How do I make use of sensors moving across that entire spectrum so I get a true all-domain context and twin of what's physically going on everywhere?
What about that person saying, I know, it's just too invasive, too much. But you're the first one, and it's just dawned on me that acid in motion. You know, it's like, oh, I got it. This building, you can have a digital twin, no problem, lights, all of that stuff. But that acid in motion is another element. But then again, when does it stop? Where does it go?
Right. Actually, right now, I think the limit is literally, extends beyond the solar system. I mean, I know NASA is looking at building in LunaNet and all of these things, and all of those things could have, digital twins in order to incorporate next generation technology in the systems, that are coming up.
You've thought through this before. You've had a couple of conversations, to say the least. How do they get a hold of you, Steven? They're saying, I want to get
easiest way is Steven.Huang at ManTech.com, or you can look me up on ManTech.com and you can look at Intelligent System Engineering.
Intelligent Systems Engineer. By the way, you're the first person that has that title that I've talked to.
There's a reason for that.
Why? What is it? Tell me.
Is that we practice Intelligent System Engineering. We just don't, walk the walk.
Let's just get out of here, man. You were great. That was a lot of fun, man.
Thank
all right,
you.
listeners, we're going to have all the contact information for Steven out on Industrial Talk, so fear not. Reach out to him. This world is changing. This world is changing quickly. You need trusted individuals. You need trusted companies to help you with that journey. Reach out to ManTech. Reach out to Steven, and at least begin that conversation. You will not be disappointed. And again, at a minimum, go out to omg.org. omg.org, and you get great people like Steven and others really trying to solve problems. Have that conversation. Collaborate. It's important. All right, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. And again, we'll have all his contact information, so fear not. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
How about that conversation with Steven? Absolutely. The company is ManTech. Virtual twin. The technology is happening. Innovation is happening. Every conversation I have, it always dazzles me how fast there's this, the speed. The only thing that I can recommend for you listener out there is to be engaged, is to learn as much as you possibly can. Find individuals like Steven to help you along with that journey, because it's happening. And I think that companies who truly embrace it, whether you like it or not, are going to have a competitive advantage over ones that do not. So make this a priority. Go out to omg.org as well. Connect with these individuals. They're all right there. They're right there, ready to answer questions. All right, be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Steven, and you will be changing the world. We're going to have another great conversation coming from OMG. Short list of